Welcome to Busted Speakers. I'm Kush,
And I'm Alex.
and today we're reviewing The Seven by Talib Kweli and Styles P. So Talib Kweli's they've both been in the game for well over 20 years now, making rap albums. Talib Kweli's more on the conscious side, more of the introspective, lyrical hip hop, and Styles P is always on that gangsta shit. He's he's like he's always just been compared to like Ghostface Killah and rappers like that, just really emphasizing. Oh, Freddie Gibbs as well is one of the big influence. Or Styles P is one of Freddie Gibbs' big influence. So like you can see the comparison to like the gangsta style music. Um,
Yeah,
but they've both been veterans in the rap industry for such a long time. But I don't think they've gotten as much popularity as they deserve. They've never hit the mainstream. They've always been more underground rappers.
I think Talib Kweli is reasonably well known, especially more in the early 2000s. But yeah, it's definitely not in the more common side of rap, which is a good thing to say because Common is actually on this album, who's a rapper I like a lot, and Jada Kiss. So they've got some good features on here. So even though it's a collab album, they've got quite a lot of features. Now, I don't know where you stand on collab albums between two rappers anyway, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like,
they both. I was interested to hear how they would flow off of each other because they both have very different styles of rap, and I was just intrigued in how that would make that work and how that would just benefit them as rappers and how they would flow off each other and so on. First thing I want to address is the production in this whole record is very old school, lots of piano sample, a lot of jazzy samples, but then there's always beat
yeah.
switch ups to make it more hardcore. So the production is some really good production throughout the whole record. I never had a problem with that.
Do you think it only sounds old school because we're so accustomed to trap and cloud rap and all that being the norm of rap in some sense today? Because I didn't really catch it being old school. Maybe just because the rappers are old school themselves, but
It
I
just
don't know.
reminded me.
A
It just
little
reminded
bit.
me of late '90s, early 2000s production. Because like you can tell which generation. Like obviously, it's not old school because he made it like last year or this year, but
Yeah.
it has that more like vintage sound to it. And maybe it's because the rappers are 20-year veterans both, so it could be another reason.
I did actually pick up that this did remind me of mid-2000s rap. Like the production styles, I don't know exactly what the intricacies of production styles from the mid-2000s hip-hop would entail. But it reminded me of Eminem's like bad encore period and Akon and all that. Not in a bad way. Some of that stuff is okay. And this
Yeah,
is like that period amplified as a good thing. Like Common on his album B. That's what this reminded me of a little bit. So I get what you mean. This is a really fun
yeah.
album, I have to say. Really fun and
It is.
short.
They both. I mean, I think the short aspect was something I was missing. Like that kind of made me upset because they both have these like. So Freddie Gibbs had a 31-minute album with two songs that I would consider filler. There were no songs on
Yeah.
here that I would consider filler songs. They all had a reason, a little message or whatever. So I wouldn't call any of these filler. The first song, Poets and Gangsters, really highlights the contrast between the two rappers. Talib Kweli,
Yeah.
obviously the poet, Styles P the gangster, and it had some really catchy lyrics. The hook was super catchy, and then at this point I realized how much I missed Talib just spitting bars after bars. And he's just a fantastic rapper, someone who doesn't get as much recognition as he needs.
So beyond 7 being the number of tracks, they talk at the start of this like 7 being some all-knowing number. Maybe the name of a cult that doesn't take no shit. I don't know. They hyped up the 7 quite highly at the start of this. I don't quite get that, but yeah. But I love the sound of
Yeah,
this album, and the bass on the first track, Poets and Gangsters, is super fresh. They both sound really good, and yeah, that was a great opener.
the next song, Brown Guys. Now that was a really cool song. They were talking about like the political climate kind of in America because Talib Kweli is talking about how he's a black Christian man with a Muslim name and he still gets treated terribly, and he's just
Yeah,
he's just talking about like how life in America is, and for them, and especially being minorities and certain religions, certain cultures, is tough for them. And there's one lyric
yeah.
that I wanna point out. It says, "Now if my color makes you hate me, I hope you go blind and you can't see what your children do." Now that sounds kind of harsh, but you would feel like I feel if you had black children too. Like that
Wow.
shit cut deep. Oh god.
There are so many lines that cut deep, but there are also some quite funny lines which still kind of cut deep, even though is humour indebted in them. Like, I'm not sure who said it. I think it was Styles. Um, like slam people who think they understand black guys or brown guys, as the title of the song is, because they've seen a few seasons of The Wire was priceless, which is kind of true because that's probably not the biggest indication of black guys, but there are people who probably see that and think they get what life for black people is like just
Yeah.
from that. But yeah, I'd say this is probably a bit of a basic song though about the unfairness between blacks and whites. It's
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's quite surface level and crude about it, but the general idea of what he's saying resonates with me still. And like you said earlier, that Talib's rap sounds better because on this particular song there are times where Styles is better. Just because, like you said, he had to live with black hatred more than Styles because he toured around with a Muslim name, just because that's the name of his parents or something. So yeah, it's pretty good, but I don't know. It felt like they were trying to half go hard hitting, but half slightly humorous edge to it. But in general, I thought that was another good track.
Yeah. One more lyric. Just he talks about how like no religion has a monopoly in crime. Talking about how like people pin the blame on Muslims in America, and he says like that's not the case. Anyone can be a criminal. Anyone can be an asshole. Anyone can be a cynic. It's not like a religious thing. It's anyone can have that thing going for them. But that was interesting.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed in the last couple of rap albums we've reviewed, which is really really weird. I don't know if you noticed it too. Whenever some rappers go full on political, they end up starting spouting conspiracy theories. Um, the song "In the Field," they start talking
Oh,
about how there's like reptile presidents and the pyramids are made by aliens. And I noticed how in Joey Badass's album, there's a song where he was talking about chemtrails and how he's talking about like the government's not telling
yeah.
us things. So maybe it's just like a thing of these last two albums. There's no coincidence, but I feel like when they start talking politics, they just go full on into conspiracy theories. It's really weird.
I don't know if it's just like a common paranoia that most people actually hold in their heads that we're only hearing from these guys because they have a platform to say what they want and what's in their heads that we wouldn't hear from the normal person on the street. But yeah, In the Field, that was probably my favourite song on the album. I like the sample of Malcolm X at the start, who
That was
I have never
bold.
really listened. I've never really listened to any of Malcolm X's speeches or ideals, but I know a lot of people, like as the fact they've used him on here, they still identify with what he was saying 50 years ago. Anyway, there's some great outrage lines on here talking about how you always hear about black on black or black on blue violence, but never the white on white violence. And he says, "Ain't no profiting over criminalising white dudes," which I feel like rings quite true. Maybe that's not true completely.
I mean,
I feel like
he's just spouting what the black people are feeling in America,
yeah.
and like it's not like an isolated topic. A lot of people feel this way, which is really upsetting and really just if you sit down and like listen to what they're saying, it's really really interesting.
I mean, this probably doesn't have as much bearing on my head because the media I hear, Scottish, UK media, I do hear a lot of white on white violence. Maybe that's because that's more prominent. Because sadly, Scotland is like less than 1% black. It's like 96% white. I think it's one of the whitest countries in the world. So, yeah. But he says, "I be in the field, but I ain't a slave. I'm a kin, and that's real." Is a really cool, badass line. How they play around with the speech Malcolm X gave. Yeah, it's a little bit of an awkward chorus, trying to rhyme teleprompters, helicopters, and coppers as the main rhyme flow in the chorus, but it just about works, and Common is unmistakable. Getting him on a political album like this was a good idea.
Yeah,
And
he's
yeah,
always been a political rapper.
I just find it funny how, Rate Your Music, obviously, the prominent music rating site, somehow I got on a poll for Common, and somehow I'm featured on Common's front page, even though I've only heard 2 of his albums. So one of the top minds about Common is on this podcast with you, Kush. How does that feel?
It feels fantastic.
Definitely.
uh,
Anyway, Let It Burn. I have to give serious props to Talib and Styles P, because the two features they have on this song, Rhapsody and Chris Rivers, are two younger rappers. So it's really cool to me that these two older, 20 plus years in the game rappers are giving some younger MCs some help in the game. I don't know if they'll get that much of an audience, but it's a foot up, it's a help, and that I always appreciate that.
Yeah. I think Rhapsody did much better than Chris Rivers. I think Chris Rivers had like a lot of vocal effects, which kind of ruined it.
Yeah, I also think he sounded a bit prepubescent, Chris. Not in a bad way. I just think he's a really young guy. But it did feel like the youth is speaking, even though he's just one guy. It did feel like they had the youth represented on the album, and his flow is actually quite good. One of the more eye-opening on the album, I'd say.
This album was just pretty solid for a rap album.
Yeah, as far as they go, this is a really solid release. I wasn't expecting too much, but I got quite a lot.
So, what would you rate this?
Fittingly, I will give the 7 a 7 because every song was good, like you say. Now you might say I haven't actually said one negative thing about the album. Well, it's all in relativity, I'd say. I mean, not every song was amazing. Not every song made me think. Like Teleprompters isn't the best, and some of the features aren't as good as Talib or Styles. Like the 9.5 track, which is a Crazy Crew track, I think they got a few below average rappers. Still much better than me, but I don't know. But I still really liked it. It was a really solid release, and it's made me want to check them out further. So I can't really say much more than that. It was a really good album, I'd say, within my relatively limited hip hop experiences, I guess.
Yeah, for me it's a 6.5. The only problem
Two in a row.
The only problem I had with this actual album was that it was so short, 29 minutes, and I felt like I needed more Talib and Styles P because they did really flow off each other really well. The Jadakiss
Jadakiss, I think.
Jadakiss feature was forgettable. Chris Rivers wasn't the best. Little Vic wasn't the best. But Rhapsody and Common both had pretty good features.
Do you not think that's like walking a thin line though, Kush? Because most rap albums are a bit too long. Like, I'd say the average length is like 65, 70 minutes. So I found like a 30-minute one refreshing. Or did it just like basically leave you wanting more?
I think, especially because there's two rappers on here. So if it were a single rapper, I would understand 30 minutes is good, like Freddie Gibbs. There's two rappers with two different stories, with two different contexts, and two different ways of saying everything they want to say. And I think they're cutting it short here a little bit by not giving another couple tracks. Or maybe this is just more like a EP sort of thing for them. It's not like a full...
I think it's like a mini album. I think we could maybe expect more from them.
I hope so, because they're both... I was kind of hesitant like hearing about this album coming out because I didn't really know much about like how they would flow together. But I was surprised. They actually did really well together.
Yeah.
So yeah, 6.5 from me. Well, if that's it, then thanks for tuning to Busted Speakers. We hope you enjoy this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Let us know what you want us to review next. Let us know how you feel about this album in the comments below. And check us out on social media.